Welcome to Finding Holiness, where we delve into timeless Torah wisdom, revealing the sacred in everyday moments. Join us on a journey to elevate your spirituality and discover holiness in every aspect of life. I'm your host, Rabbi David Kadosh, and together, let's embark on a path of spiritual exploration. I hope you enjoy this next episode. All right, welcome back, everybody. Part 2 of Hilchot 3 weeks and Hilchot Tisha B'Av. I have to be a bit loud because I got to get there, and we got other shiurim going on over here. I want to finish the perek. For those that are following, we're on Hilchot Ta'anit in the Rambam. Perek Hey. I'm going to move this a little bit closer to make sure that the microphone gets me. Yeah, the microphone will get me. I'm sure it'll get me. Okay, so we're Perek Hey Halacha Zayin. And the end of the perek is actually interesting because it has to do with certain minhagim that we practice today. The fact that we lack the Bet HaMikdash. We'll see things that we do that are interesting that the Rambam brings down. So let's first finish the Tisha B'Av section, and then we'll move into that. So Tisha B'Av lelo keyomo lechol davar. So the day of Tisha B'Av, unlike all the other 3 fasts that we mentioned last week, where the fast starts in the daytime only, Tisha B'Av, it's the night of Tisha B'Av is like the day with regards to everything, with regards to the eating, the drinking, the anointing, the bathing, all the things that you're not allowed to do on Tisha B'Av applies not just during the day but also at the night. Ve'en ochlim ela miba'od yom. And you can only eat, meaning while it's still daytime on Erev Tisha B'Av. U'ben hashemashot shelo asur keyom ha'kippurim. Ben hashemashot, which is the time between sunset and 3 stars, it's considered like the fast day. It's like Yom Kippur, that you cannot eat. Just like on Yom Kippur, you already started to stop eating from before, so too in Tisha B'Av. Ve'lo yochal basar, ve'lo yishteh yain, b'seudah mafsik ba. And you're not allowed to eat wine, you're not allowed to eat meat, and you're not allowed to drink wine on the seudah that you use to interrupt. That's the seudah mafseket that we stop, that we break. That's your last main seudah. That's the one that we often have certain foods, special foods, that you're not allowed to eat meat or drink wine. Now, let's not forget, we've already learned last week that the custom is that we're already not eating meat and drinking wine for 9 days, according to many of the customs around the world. But according to the strict letter of the law, okay, you're allowed to eat meat and you're allowed to drink wine during the 9 days. The only time you're not allowed to eat meat and drink wine is right now, that last seudah. That's the only time you're not allowed to eat, for sure, according to everybody. But the custom has spread that we don't eat meat and drink wine all 9 days, but he's just bringing the actual halacha. But he says, Aval shotehu yain migito sheyesh lo shlosha yamim o pachot. You can drink wine that has left the barrel within 3 days. Okay, it hasn't actually fermented properly. That's not really wine. It's not really enjoyable. So that type of wine you could drink. Ve'ochel basar maliach. You can eat salted meats. Sheyesh lo shosha yamim o yater, that has been sitting in the salt. After you shecht an animal, you have to sit in salt. And from the 3rd day on, you're allowed to eat it, because there is no. If you left it in the salt 3 days sitting, it actually doesn't taste like meat. I don't even know what it tastes like. I've never tried it, but he says over here that it doesn't taste like meat so much, so you're allowed to eat it during this meal because it really doesn't have the status of meat. Ve'lo yochal shnei tavshilim. And you're not allowed to have 2 cooked dishes. So this is something that we actually practice. Okay, this is actually brought down in Shulchan Aruch. You're not allowed to have 2 cooked dishes. Some people have the custom to eat lentils. That's a cooked dish. Some people have the custom to eat hard-boiled eggs. That's a cooked dish. But you should not eat both of them. Okay? So what do people do? So what the seudah mafseket is usually practiced when you're sitting down on the floor. That's your final meal. So what I usually recommend people to do is eat your chicken, eat your lentil, whatever it is, hard-boiled, whatever it is, a lot of cooked dishes as your normal meal. Before your seudah mafseket, eat as much as you want. Okay? Then when you're ready to have your final seudah, okay, which we have the custom to sit on the floor, you wash your hands and then you have your bowl of lentils or you have your hard-boiled egg. That's it. That's your one cooked meal at that time. Before that, you can eat whatever you want. But when you declare to yourself, this is the seudah mafseket, therefore you're only allowed to have one cooked meal. You're not allowed to have 2, because having 2 is derech hashivut. It shows importance, it shows enjoyment, not something that we want to do right before Tisha B'Av. So says the Rambam, what are we talking about when we say all these things that you're not allowed to do in Suda Mafseket? This is assuming that on Erev Tisha B'Av you're eating your Suda Mafseket after midday. Let's say you're having your final meal early in the morning. This year Tisha B'Av is on Thursday. So let's say on Wednesday morning you're going to have your final meal. But it's before Chatzot. In that situation, okay, you can have whatever you want. Even if that's your final meal, okay, you could have meat, you could have wine. Again, we don't have the custom to eat meat, but you could really eat. You could eat 10 tafshilim if you want, if you're eating in the morning. Ve'erev Tisha B'Av shechal liot b'Shabbat. If Erev Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbat, I think it did last year. Last year Erev Tisha B'Av was on Shabbat, and meaning Tisha B'Av was on Sunday. In that situation on Shabbat, you eat everything, whatever you want. There's no holding back. And you put your table, you set your table as if you're on the table of Shlomo HaMelech. Okay, you put the best meat, you put the best wines, just because it's Tisha B'Av the next day. Sometimes Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbat itself, and you're pushing it off to Sunday. Okay, even in that situation, we treat Shabbat like Shabbat. We don't hold back whatsoever. That's what he says next. Even if Tisha B'Av itself falls out on Shabbat and you're pushing the fast off to Sunday, no difference. Your table is set up like you normally do. He brings down here at the bottom, when it comes down to Havdalah, Shulchan Aruch talks about on Havdalah, obviously on Motzei Shabbat, which is Tisha B'Av, you're not doing Havdalah on a cup of wine because you're fasting. So the only thing that you would do is Borei Meoreh. It's the only thing that you do on Tisha B'Av night if it falls out on Saturday night, and you save the Havdalah on the kos until the end of the fast, which is Sunday night. You do Havdalah on the kos then. And Besamim, there's no Besamim either when it comes when Havdalah is when Tisha B'Av falls on Saturday night. Okay, Zo halachatet. Zohi midat kol ha'am. This is everything that we said over here about Suda Mafseket. This is the way of most of the nation, most of the people, she'en yecholim lisbol yater midai, who are not able to suffer. Lisbol means to suffer, meaning to be discomforted too much. Aval chasidim harishonim, the early pious ones, ka chayta midatan. This is what they used to do way back then. Erev Tisha B'Av, on Erev Tisha B'Av, mevi'in lo la'adam levado pat chareva b'melach. They would only have a stale piece of bread with salt. Pat chareva. V'shora b'mayim, they would soak it in water. V'yoshev ben tanur lechirayim ve'ochla, and they would sit between the oven and the stove and eat it. Okay, I guess sitting on the floor. I don't know why specifically between the oven and the stove. Maybe it was to become more uncomfortable because it was already hot. Tisha B'Av in the summertime, you want to be a warm, uncomfortable place. And they would drink water with sadness and with sorrow and with tears, as if one of their close relatives was dead in front of them. That's how they would sit and have that last meal. This is how the Chachamim should do. If you are at the level of a Chassid, and again, we're not talking about Chassidim, the long peyot, they might also be the Chassidim that he's referring to, but any person that considers himself extra pious, okay, kind of like we're learning in Masiyat Yesharim right now, at the next level of type of people, this is what you should be accustomed to, or karov mizeh, or at least close to this. And in our days, he says, he's talking about himself, we didn't eat any cooked meal on Erev Tisha B'Av. Already nothing. We did nothing. Unless it was Shabbat, we didn't take any cooked things. Only on Shabbat they used to have lentils, but that was it. Nowadays it would probably be unheard of to have lentils on Shabbat, because lentils is related. It usually correlates to a food of mourning. You wouldn't really do that on Shabbat, but he said that's what they used to do. So already after Tisha B'Av, he's saying we didn't have any chickens or nothing. We sat down, we had stale bread and we had water, and we sat there and we cried. Because the Rambam talks about his own time. Okay, let's add in. We're on a different level in the Rambam. We're eating as much protein and meats and eggs and water, like chomping down as much as we can, because we know it's a hard fast. Okay. Ubarot umenikot. Ubarot is a pregnant lady, and a menika is a nursing woman. All these two categories of ladies, mit'anot umashlimot betisha b'av. They have to fast and they have to finish the fast. They have to complete the fast on Tisha B'Av. Ve'asur barechitza, and they are not allowed to bathe themselves ben bechamim ben betzonen, whether hot water or with cold water. Va'afilu le'oshit etzba'o b'mayim, even just to put their finger in water as a little no, not allowed to do that. The asur besicha shel ta'anug, they cannot rub ointments on their body for pleasure. B'ne'ilata sandal, they cannot wear leather shoes. Uftashmish hamita, they cannot have marital relations, intimacy with their husband. Yom Kippurim, just like Yom Kippur. Umakom shenahasu la'asot bo melacha osim. Now, this is in general, not just to the ladies, but if you are in a place where the custom is to do melacha on Tisha B'Av, you are allowed to do melacha. You're allowed to go do work. You can plant your garden. If that's, I wouldn't recommend it. It's hot outside and you might become thirsty. But if the custom of the place was to do melacha, then you do melacha. Umakom shenagu shelo la'asot enan osim. But if you live in a place where nobody does work on Tisha B'Av, then you should not do any work. Ubekol makom talmidei chachamim betelim bo. Nevertheless, whatever you are, okay, if you are Talmid Chacham, you should not do any work. Even if the people have a custom to do work, you should not. You should refrain on this day. V'amnu Chachamim, the rabbis famously said, Shekol ha'oseh bo melacha eno ro'eh siman beracha la'olam. Anybody that does melacha on Tisha B'Av, you're not going to see any blessing from that work. You start planting your garden, okay, on Tisha B'Av, you're planting tomatoes, you're not going to see any tomatoes grow from there. You understand? I planted tomatoes. Yesterday I planted tomatoes, those ones are growing. The ones you plant on Tisha B'Av are not growing. You're not going to see any berachah. Maybe they'll grow, but they won't be good. Okay?
What about like working like a job?
Okay, so that's where the question comes in. So it seems that in North America, we would have to, there's no question we would have to say that in North America, we have a custom to work on Tisha B'Av. Meaning there are people that do go to work. It's not something that has been, it's like clear cut. Everybody stays home, and but if you can avoid it, certainly you can avoid it. That's what you should do, and because again, you're not going to see much beracha. For the person that usually has to go to work, it's because he has no choice, and he has responsibilities. His boss requires him there for whatever reason, so you got to go to work. You don't want to lose your job, okay? But even then, try to limit your work. Don't do the whole day. Go half a day. Go whatever. Already you're going to be probably missing a big chunk of work because of tefillah. So whatever you can do, a little bit minimum, do it, and then come back. Okay. More things about Tisha B'Av. Talmidei Chachamim en notnim shalom ze laze b'Tisha B'Av. The Torah scholars would not greet each other on Tisha B'Av. Don't say shalom. Hey, how are you? That doesn't. Now, where does this come from, by the way? This comes from the laws of mourning, period. When a person is mourning for his relative, okay? But if you're mourning for a relative, you don't say shalom. You don't say shalom to an Avel. The Avel doesn't say shalom to you, especially for the first 3 days. And then slowly you start a little bit, after Shiva, you can do a little bit. But there's laws about this. So, Tisha B'Av, we're mourning for the Beit HaMikdash. So we don't say shalom one to another. If the level of Talmid Chacham, why does he only say Talmid Chacham, not anybody else? Mainly probably because I don't know if the general public is so absorbed into the severity of the day, so they might not realize to codify it as a halacha, as something that is so common. You see somebody every morning, hey, good morning, what's going on? Okay, we're not used to it, so we're not used to not saying good morning. But definitely, if a person is able to understand the severity of the day and stop and say, wait a second, I know today's Tisha B'Av, I should be greeting my friend. I understand. I know that he's going to understand why I'm not greeting him, and then therefore we're not noten shalom ze lazeh. Ela yoshvim davim nenachim. We sit down like keuvim, like in pain, sighing, ka'avelei em, like a man who is mourning his mother. That's what it means. Like a person mourns one of his parents. That's how we feel. Now, let's say a guy doesn't know. You're gonna get that guy. He's gonna come up to you. Hey, what's going on? I love that he doesn't know to fast. He doesn't know anything. He's not it. Or he knows the fast, but he doesn't know the law. He doesn't feel Tisha B'Av. He says, "What's going on?" What do? You reply to him in a soft language, soft tone, with your head down. Koved rosh. Koved rosh doesn't just mean a heavy head, but also means a more serious form of response. That's what we do. We don't want to insult him. That's why we answer that. Ve'asur likrot בתשעה באב בתורה, או בנביאים, או בכתובים, או במשנה, או בהלכות, או בתלמוד, או באגדות. You're not allowed to learn on Tisha B'Av, Chumash, Navi, the Ketuvim, Mishnah, Halacha, Talmud, Agadah, nothing. You can't learn on Tisha B'Av. You know what the problem is? Since people on Tisha B'Av find themselves with nothing to do, that's when they think they want to go learn. And they okay, now they open up a book. That's not when you can't learn. Okay, so what do you do? Eno kore ela be'Iyov. You could read the book of Iyov because Iyov is a sad book about his story and the pain and suffering that he went through. Kinot, okay, you can read the Kinot. Ubedvarim hara'im sheba Yirmiyah, and you can read about all the bad prophecies that Yirmiyah gave. So you can learn the book of Yirmiyah because most of Yirmiyah is bad prophecies. Sorry, Megillat Echa, yeah, Megillat Echa. Obviously, that's part of the Kinot. Some even allow there are three dapim in Masechet Gitin. We just went through them now in Daf Yomi. Believe it or not, it's always cool and coincidence that certain things happen to fall around there. We just went through them. Three dapim in Gitin. I think it's Nun Bet. That could be wrong. Nun Chet. Three dapim in Gitin that talk about the destruction of Beit HaMikdash in detail. And those, I didn't learn them in Daf Yomi because I'm saving them for Tisha B'Av. I'm going to go back and learn them when I went on Tisha B'Av. Okay? V'tinokot shebet rabban betelin bo. Okay, students hold back. We're all going to teach the students. Miksat chachamim noagim shlo le'aniach bo tefillin. Some of the chachamim have the custom not to wear tefillin on just like an avel. An Avel does not wear tefillin on the first day of his Avelut. So too, since we are Avelim, we are mourning, we don't wear tefillin. Our custom is not to wear tefillin during Shachrit. We put it on during Mincha. That's what we do.
Can't sit with them, no?
Because you can't do it also, yeah.
We don't wear Shachrit.
So by then we don't wear Shachrit. So when we're in Mincha in the time of Nechama, so that's what we do.
Yeah, but the reason for Avel is different, no?
The reason for what?
Because they're rolling in the front kavod, because they're rolling in the dirt or something.
For Havdalah?
When Avel wears tefillin, can't wear tefillin. First
Yes.
day. Because they're rolling in the dust or something.
Yeah, because there's back then you should put the Gemara talks about it. There's pe'er, tachat efer, right? Tefillin is called pe'er, but you should put ashes on the head. There's a whole bunch of reasons over there brought down. That plus is mindful, not focused on that.
So if we're acting like we're mourning, how come we don't tear our clothes or do things like that?
It's a good question. He's going to bring down some customs. Some people used to put ashes on their head, especially in Morocco. They used to do that on Tisha B'Av. They used to take some ashes and put it on their head. Tearing of the clothing is things that are reserved for the loss of one of the 7 relatives, which is the most severe form of Avelut. And the Beit HaMikdash, which when you see like the Kotel, the Chubanan, the Yushalayim, the Chubanan, that's when you tear your clothes. You're right. It hasn't been a custom.
Not like if you're apples and oranges, but like the loss of the Beit HaMikdash is like I don't know if I'm allowed to say if it's worse than losing a relative. It's pretty up there. Right?
It's pretty up there. You're right. So that's what I'm saying. That's why we do rip. When you go to the Kotel and you see the Kotel the first time in more than 30 days, you rip your shirt. Right. You do Kriyah.
It's a popular minhag to wear the same clothes the whole day.
Yes, 100%. Also,
is that a must do to rip your clothes on?
Yeah.
Yes. But it's after we haven't seen it for a while.
No.
30 days.
No, but
30 days.
Wasn't the law applied to people who live in Eretz Yisrael, not for people who live outside?
Well, for sure, people live outside. You haven't been to Israel a long time. You go back, you see the Kotel. you do Kriyah. A lot of people don't know that halacha, but it is important. Okay, I always prepare. You bring that old shirt you want to throw away anyways, and you wear it, and then you do the Kriyah.
Say if you see Harabayit though, like if you live in an area you see Harabayit and if you don't, then it's okay.
That's okay because you're constantly seeing it. Yes, that's right.
You see the mosque,
So he does go over here at the bottom the seder of the tefillah, but I think it's other than we add the bracha of Nachem during Mincha and the bracha Bonei Yerushalayim. I don't think there's much here that is significant. The Sfaradim add the Kaddish at night for the Sfaradim is Kaddish Tehu Ativ, which is the Kaddish that we say at a funeral, okay, that the mourner says at a funeral, which is instead of Tikabal. It seems that Ashkenazim don't say that one. And there are different things over here. And of course we have on Motzei Tisha B'Av, we do Birkat HaLevana, which is very important mitzvah to do. Always after the fast, we always have that one extra mitzvah, Yom Kippur and Birkat HaLevana. Okay. He does say over here that there are those who are makpid. We brought down the Mishnah Brura that to eat and drink a little bit before doing Birkat HaLevana. Although we don't do that custom, we have that custom because you don't want to say the bracha while you're still fasting. Like that's it, the fast is over. When you say bracha, you're fulfilling a mitzvah, you do this in fast. How can you do that if you're still fasting? So you have something to eat a little bit. It's interesting, brought down by the Mishnah Brura. Okay, fine. The rest of the chapter deals with various customs that we have since the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash that most of them we practice today. So Halacha Yud Bet says the following: Mishecharav Bet HaMikdash tiknu chachamim shehayu beoto ador she'en bonin le'olam binyan mesuyad mechuyar kebinyan melachim. That from the time the Bet HaMikdash was destroyed, the chachamim made a takana. The chachamim of that generation made a takana that we don't build a structure that is fully plastered and sealed like the binyan melachim, like the palaces of the kings. Ela tach beto batit besad besit ushayer mekom ama alama keneged apetach belosi. But rather we plaster it and we paint it, do whatever, and we leave a space of 1 amma by 1 amma. It's about 50 centimeters by 50 centimeters roughly. Belosi, without plaster or without unfinished.
Usually people just have it the old
Yes.
No?
Yeah. So I when I remember speaking with Chacham before this, so I read a shita that and I asked him. He said, "Yes, good minhag that I put primer. You do primer, okay? People prime the wall before they put the paint. So you can do that. You can put primer. So it's basically unpainted, and you have a section, and it has to be keneged apetach. It has to be by the entrance. Better if you actually see it when you open the door. Okay, but it has to be near the entrance. This is not something that is just nice to do. This is brought down, and not only Rambam, it's brought down Shulchan Aruch. This is one of the things that the Chachamim established. There's got to be a part of your house that is left unfinished. Okay, so now you could just leave the whole drywall not there, but that's a little strange. But so this is good. You have the drywall. It's just not painted the typical way, and it's left with its primer or plaster, whatever, so it's clearly visible. Yeah.
I was thinking of like renovations or something. Is that good?
Okay, well, I'm saying once the renovation is done, then you leave an area in the entrance that is not finished. Yeah.
What if you renovate the whole house but don't renovate part of the house?
If it's keneged apetach, no, that doesn't work like that. You can't just say like, no. You can't just say, my bathroom I left under. No. It has to be an area that is unfinished.
I thought the whole thing for living houses built in Israel.
No, anywhere, yes.
As we used to go to a lot of places, it's like a hole in the wall.
So
I've seen the box missing paint. That's like the most popular.
Missing paint, yeah, that's what I have.
I think it's angry.
Like a box on the wall.
It's the petach, and don't fix it.
Okay, that's your thing.
Does that apply to shuls too, or just
It seems to be your house. Bonin le'olam binyan, maybe.
So it's probably like basically it's usually never finished. Not like stone floor, it's like hard or whatever.
The Magen Avraham brings down that it doesn't apply to. The Magen Avraham brings down that it does not apply to the Bet Midrash or the Bet Knesset. It's only your home. It's a good question. Okay. Let's say you purchase a yard or courtyard that is already finished. It's already in its form, it's in its status. You don't have to now start tearing down walls. You know, a yard doesn't fit in the category of a home. Okay, so therefore you don't have to actually peel down walls and make them unfinished. Yard is different. Yes.
What about a rental?
Yeah, your rental is you would have to make it a piece unfinished. Yes, because the rental, what's inside the walls is yours. So you design your home, you paint it the way you want, unless you have strict instructions not to. Okay, and that's the term of the agreement that you sign. Then okay, then it's different.
So if I buy a house that was fully renovated, do I have to now make it like?
You should set aside. Yes. Yeah. Don't buy again. You don't have to go and do that. You can just just climb an area of. You can come to my house. You can see. You just came by, but you can come and see how I did it. It's yeah. You have like this there. It's just a square in the wall, and that's it.
I see that all the time. Like, what is that?
That's it. Okay. Another minhag. Okay. V'chen hitkinu u'gima. V'chen hitkinu. שהעורך שולחן לעשות סעודה לאורחים. Let's say somebody, you invite guests. You set up your whole table for Shabbat or whatever, barbecue. מחסר ממנו מעט. Leave something deficient, leave something missing. How? ומניח מקום פנוי בלא קערה מן הקערות הראויות לתת שם. And leave a place empty with no plates. So you have a table that fits 12 people. Put 11 place settings. Okay? And also, don't put on all the dishes that you have, okay, that you know you would make. Okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to leave one dish out. I'm going to leave one thing off the table. Okay, as a reminder that, we're not fully celebrating here. Again, all of these things is to remind ourselves that we're not in full simcha without the Beit HaMikdash. If a woman is making jewelry, she should also leave out whatever it is that she's making out of silver or gold. Leave one of the jewels, one of the things missing, so that the jewelry is not, whatever it is that she's making is not complete. Again, that's a kasim. Don't see that too often nowadays, but that was clearly something that they did. When the chatan gets married, lokeach efer mikle venoten berosho. Take some ashes, okay, and put it on his head. Mekom anachat tefillin. Again, on the place where you put your tefillin this is where the custom comes. Why tefillin? One of the reasons why we don't wear tefillin when you're mourning, because that's the custom. You should put ashes there when you're mourning. Bechol elu devarim kedel lizkor Yerushalayim. And all of these customs are to remember Yerushalayim. שנאמר, אם אשכחך ירושלים תשכח ימיני, תדבק לשוני לחיקי, אם לא אזכרכי. Now, he doesn't bring down the minhag to break a glass at the wedding. He doesn't bring down as one of the customs. That custom is brought down by the Rambam in the Shulchan Aruch. The Rambam says we have a custom to break a glass underneath the chuppah. Okay, and it has to be a complete glass. It can't be chipped or broken. And he says that is the custom that is spread throughout Kol Tfutzot Israel. All the Jewish people break a glass at the wedding. It is brought down in the Ramah. The actual source, I think, from that is actually in the Gemara Masechet Brachot, where they're talking about sadness and being overly happy. There are a few instances in the Gemara where one of the rabbis saw that there was at a wedding that the people, they were too happy and too joyous and goofing around, and he took an expensive glass and he broke it, and everybody kind of got shocked. All right, and that was something to lower the happiness and bring them to a form of sadness. Yes.
So why is that at the very end of the Shabbat? That's when everyone gets excited.
You're right.
Shouldn't that be like in the middle?
I've seen people do it not at the end. I've been at weddings where they do it. I might be wrong if I say in the Syrian community, but I have seen weddings where they do the breaking of the glass not at the end. before that, probably for that reason. So you really feel it, rather than you do it at the end and everyone just starts dancing, you know?
But should we have like a disclaimer before to remind, you know?
Well, yeah, okay. That is the disclaimer in a way. Some rabbis, when they're leading, so some rabbis, when they're leading the ceremony, they say that like this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and it's a good thing to remind everybody, you know. No, maybe one day we'll get to a point where the rabbi will say, we're going to break the glass and we're going to stay silent for 5 seconds, right?
No, it's a disclaimer. It says the pasuk, and then they have a nice singer singing the song, nice, everyone's happy, and then they break the glass.
Exactly.
No, you have a disclaimer, this moment of silence.
Okay. Yudaleh. V'chen gazru shelo lenagen bichle shir kulam. Then they also made a takana not to play instruments. V'kol minei zemer, v'kol mashmiya kol shel shir. Any type of instrument or that makes music, asur lismoch bahem. You cannot have simcha with them. Asur l'shom'an. You cannot listen to them. Because of the churban. So clearly nowadays we see we don't really practice this. I should say that in Yerushalayim they're very, very strict. I think they only allow drums or something like that. I don't know. I heard that in Yerushalayim they're very strict. The Rambam talks about that this isur is specifically people who do this for a living shouldn't be constantly playing. But if you were at a wedding, you're allowed to play musical instruments, or once in a while to go listen to instruments or music. Or the Rama writes it, and even though it's a Rama that says that, and Rama is an Ashkenazi posek, even nowadays Sfaradim are posek like the Rama when it comes to that. And certainly when you are listening, if it's for the purpose to bring you Yirat Shamayim, and the music is inspiring, as a lot of the music is today, then it serves a good purpose. Okay, but otherwise, the Chachamim did institute this. That music brings a very high level of simcha, so much so that they prohibited and they made a takana not to do it. Va'afilu shira bapeh al yain asura. Even singing without kli zemer, but you're doing it while drinking, also asur. Okay? Shneimar bashir lo yishtu yain. וכבר נהגו כל ישראל לומר דברי תשבחות או שיר שהודעות לאל וכיוצא באלו היין. But he says that the Rambam says that nowadays it seems that the minhag is that people sing while they're drinking, especially at Seudot. I don't think this applies to Seudot Shabbat or Seudot Yom Tov, where there's a mitzvah to be Oneg Shabbat, which is Zmirot Shel Shabbat. I think that applies, but the Rambam does say that we see the custom nowadays that that people do sing when they're drinking wine.
Is this music always or just during the 3 weeks?
No, this is always.
It's just to remind us.
Yeah. Tedvav. Ve'achar kach gazru al atrot chatanim klal. And after that, they made a decree with regard to the crowns of the chatanim. They used to give a certain a tachshit, like a little crown they used to put on the chatanim, almost like he was a king. Chatan is a king in a way. Okay? They used to put it on his head. They stopped that. Shelo yaniach chatan beroso shem klil. So they shouldn't. The chatan shouldn't put, something like that, which gives the form of. I'm not sure the translation of the word kilil, but again brings a tremendous simcha. Shemar hasira misnefet ve'arim atara. V'chen gazu al atrot kala. Then they made the decree on the brides that the bride shouldn't wear as well. Im hayu shel kesef ve'zahav, if they were made out of gold or silver. Aval shel gadil muter lakala. But if it was made out of wool or colored wool, those types of headbands or whatever, then that is mutar for them to do. Ted Zayin. Mi shera'a arei Yehuda bechurbanan. Anybody that sees the cities of Yehuda in their destruction, Omer arei kochecha hayu bamidbar. He should say the pasuk, your holy cities were in the midbar, vekorea, and then rip his clothing. Ra'a Yerushalayim bechurbanan. If a person sees his Ra'a Yerushalayim bechurbanan. If he sees Yerushalayim in its destruction, Omer bet kodshenu v'tifartenu. He should say the pasuk over there, the korea, and rip. Umehechan chayav likroa. From which point where he sees does he have to rip? Min hatzofim, which is hard tzofim. I think there's a University of Jerusalem is on Har Tzofim, right? I believe Har Tzofim there, which you can see the old city. When you get to the actual area of the Bet HaMikdash, Korea Keracher, you now do another tear, another rip. ואם פגע במקדש תחילה כשיבוא מדרך המדבר, קורא על המקדש ומוסיף על ירושלים. Let's say you came the back way. So you came from the south, the desert, and that you reached the area of the Mikdash, and then you saw the old city. So you would rip first for the Mikdash, and then you would add on for Yerushalayim. You don't need to do another tear, you just add to the original one. Kol hakera'im ha'elu kulam bayad. All of these tears have to be with your hand. Ume'omed, and while you are standing. Like we do all the tears, whenever we tear someone who's in mourning, we make them stand up. And by the way, you'd be surprised, but your hands can actually, with enough force, rip a cotton shirt or, you can do it. And the halacha says you should rip right till you see the heart. If you want to fulfill the mitzvah in the best way, you go all the way down. If you're wearing 3 shirts, you wear 3 shirts, and you rip all of them till you see your heart. You're not allowed to tie this anymore. You can't sew it back. Le'olam. But you could do it in a way where you could stitch it up in a way that you still see the tear, but it's not perfect again. Yes. No, tzitzit. No, we don't rip tzitzit.
So then you can't.
Yeah, that's fine.
You have to be wearing a shirt at the time when ripping it, or does it have to be on you to be ripping it? Or?
Yeah, it has to be on you. I don't think it brings you this tzitzit, but yeah. It doesn't bring tzitzit here. Maybe Dafka, maybe you would. Because tzitzit, what is the mitzvah of tzitzit? The mitzvah of tzitzit, is it a 4-corner garment? Maybe you would. I have to look that up. It's a good question. Because people wore tzitzit on everything. Like they wore like big gowns with 4 corners and wore tzitzit. Maybe they would have to rip that. It's a good question. Because the mitzvah of tzitzit is only, if you have a 4-corner garment, you put on tzitzit. That's a mitzvah. The garment in itself is not, so... Yeah. Okay.
Even the body's not married?
Oh, so I mean, when you're on onen, I think you still wear tzitzit. You just don't say you don't know. Yeah, it's covered, so you still wear it. Haya holech uba l'Yerushalayim, holech uba im toch 30 yom eno korea kera acher. So this is what we said. If you're going back and forth to Yerushalayim, if it's within 30 days, you don't rip another tear. Ve'im la'achar 30 yom, and if it's after chozer ve'korea, he goes back and he rips again. He does bring the opinion over here in the name of the Birkei Yosef, which is the Harav Achida, that we don't have the custom to do that. 31 days you go rip again, okay, but nevertheless, for sure, if you haven't been to Israel in a year or 2 years and you're going back, then you should for sure rip. Last halacha, kol atzomot ha'elu, all of these fasts, atidim libatel, they're all going to go away. Limot HaMashiach, when Mashiach comes, all of them. Velo od, not only that, ela shehem atidim liot yamim tovim b'yimei sason v'simcha. They will become holidays. They will become days of joy, days of simcha. Shneimar, like the pasuk says, Ko amar Adonai tzevaot, so said Hashem, Tzom HaReve'i, v'Tzom HaChamishi, v'Tzom HaShevi'i, v'Tzom HaAsiri. All of those 4 fasts, which were Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, Tisha B'Av, Tzom Gedalia, and Asar B'Tevet, Yeh lebet Yehuda lesason u'simcha. They will be for the house of Yehuda for joy and happiness. U'moadim tovim v'ha'emet v'ha'shalom ehavu. And that concludes this parak of Ta'anit and Chazak. Beautiful. All right.
How come it doesn't talk about